Hi, and welcome to the new episode of the Home Assistant with BeardedTinker. Today we are going to install a new Docker, this time only one. Let's start in 10 seconds. Let's start installing Grafana in Docker on Synology. I want to thank Nick On, who left a comment on the first episode asking why I used a command line interface instead of Docker GUI on the Synology device. The answer is not that simple. First of all, somehow I prefer using command line interface. Although most of the Dockers that we installed, we could have installed inside Docker GUI on the Synology device, but there are some exceptions. One of the exceptions you have to remember is it's impossible to map folders outside that volume 1 shared folder we used before. So for example, if you are using some kind of system folder, such as secure SSL certificate folder, you will not be able to map it using Docker. That's why I'm going to install Grafana 2 times. First, we are going to use terminals as before, and after that I will show you how to install it inside GUI, but as you will see, we will once again need command line interface. Let's open terminal. I have it ready here. Inside this folder we previously created other folders, so let's check. We have Home Assistant, Influx, Pertainer. Watchtower doesn't use any folder mapping, so we don't have anything here. Now we have to make a new folder, and we will call this folder Grafana. Now we can type the command to download and install Grafana. It is sudo docker run. So super user do docker run. Started as a daemon, once again as a service. Define network port. Default network port for Grafana is 3000, so we are going to map internal Docker port with the external port 3000. Now we can define network. This time we will once again use host network. We will name Docker container Grafana. Okay, Grafana. And now we will map the folder we previously created with the internal folder of Grafana. So this will be once again volume 1 Docker and newly created Grafana folder mapped with the internal Docker folder var for variable lib from library and Grafana. And once again, although we will not be using it, I will define and create link between the Let's Encrypt default folder and internal SSL folder for the Grafana. If you will watch the second part where I do installing of the Grafana inside Docker GUI, you will see that we will not be able to do it there. So we will type v user syno certificate system default, and we will map it with the var SSL. Last command we have to type here is instructing Docker where to, on Docker Hub, what to download and install. So it's Grafana. For example, if you would like to download beta version of the latest development version, you can go in Docker Hub and search the correct naming, but usually it's something like latest for the latest version, and then for example adding this dev means to download latest development version. But once again we will be sticking with the official release. And let's press enter. We have to type in password once again. As we cannot see anything, I'm not sure if I typed correctly. And now, once again, we are downloading all the necessary images that we need to download and that Docker needs to download and extract for the container to be fully installed. Okay, and this should be now installed. Let us go back in the Synology and check if everything is okay. If we go to the menu, go to the, first we will pull this down to have it on the, no, it's not, it doesn't want to stick. Okay, yeah, it's already here, sorry. Docker, let's see the image. We see that latest Grafana is downloaded, but let's check now container. And container is stopped. Okay, let us check why the container is stopped. We go here, we go inside the log, and we see that we have a problem because this folder inside is not writable. How do we solve this? Well, it's pretty straightforward if you know the commands. If we go back to the terminal, we can check and see who is the owner of the Grafana folder, and you will see that all those letters, meaning that this is directory, it has read, write, execute for three types of the users, groups and users. The owner is BeardedTinker and he's member of the group users. What we have to do now, we have to change the permission of the Grafana folder for the user that is trying to use and write inside the Docker container. For this we have to type sudo once again. We have to change owner, chown. We will change it to be user 472 inside the group 472, and we will implement it on the folder Grafana. Okay, if we now go back in the Docker, inside the Synology Docker control, we can try and restart the Grafana and see what's going on here. And as you can see, we do not have any kind of a problem with the permissions. We can also just open File Station, go into the Grafana folder, and we see that we already have Grafana database and some other folders created. So more or less this should be it. Okay, let us now go inside the container. We will log in here. We can see that we already have now 5 containers with 7 images. Let us check it. So if we go into the images, we can see that from the last video I made, there were already some upgrades of the Home Assistant, but we can also see that we are now having a new image here for the Grafana latest. We have Grafana installed, but we will not be opening it, we will not be running it. Everything is according to container running okay. But I want to show you before going into configuration how you can install Grafana using just Docker inside Synology web interface. So before we do that, we have to select Grafana in containers. We have to remove it. We can, but it's not necessary, also remove Grafana here. I like to keep it clean, so I will remove it from here. And we will go back to the Synology screen, and inside Synology we will download and install Grafana. Okay, as you can see, it's not existing here anymore inside the container, so let us add Grafana from Docker user interface inside Synology. Let me refresh the screen. Okay, so we will open Docker, we will go to registry, we will type in Grafana, and search for it. Of course, it will not find Grafana like this. Okay, so we have here official Grafana Docker container. We will double click it. It will offer us an option to select what version we want to download. As you can see, there are a lot of versions here, but we will not go into development version. We will just select latest. This will also help you with the Watchtower, because Watchtower will always check for the latest image and see if there is difference between the latest version it has installed locally and the latest version installed in available in Docker Hub. So we have here Grafana downloaded. We will now double click it. But it's ignoring, it hasn't downloaded it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's downloaded now, it has stopped. We will name it Grafana. We will name it Grafana. We will go into the advanced settings. We will enable auto start. Before we continue, let me just delete the Grafana folder. Okay, so now it's empty. We will enable auto start. We will now map folders. For this, we will go into the Docker, into the folder. We will create here folder Grafana. It's more or less similar what we do to the command line interface. We will select the folder and we will map this folder with the folder inside the Docker container, and this is lib Grafana. Okay, and this should be it. As you can see here, we are unable to select folder with the Let's Encrypt certificate, so that's one of the reasons why I'm not using graphical user interface. Next, let's go to the network. Here we already have bridge connection created, but we want to use Docker host. So it's saying that since we are using Docker host, we cannot join any other network. For port settings, we will not be able to define port here because it's not required. And links and environment we will not be defining here, although in theory we could define SSL folder through this variable. We'll press apply, press next, and we will now create Docker based on those values. As you can see, we are having an issue. It is now restarting. As you can see, it has entered some kind of a loop, and let's check what that loop is. We are having once again problem with the definition of the folder permissions. Although we did create Grafana here, we need to stop it. We need to go to the command line interface once again. Let us check once again permissions, and as you can see, we have created Grafana folder through a file station or through Docker user interface, but again we are having those same problems with the permissions to write data and create data inside the Docker container. So we have to type in once again sudo superuser_do, change owner, and we need to change owner to 472 for the folder Grafana. I forgot to add here v for verbose so we can see what's going on. We need to type password. We see that ownership of Grafana folder has been changed from BeardedTinker to user472. If we go back to the Synology device, we can start it, and as you can see, now we shouldn't have any problem or issue running Grafana. Let us check log, and everything runs smoothly. As you can see, although I did use Docker user interface inside Synology, I still had to go to the terminal and change permission of the folder. And also here I wasn't able to map Synology Let's Encrypt or SSL folder with internal folder of the Grafana where SSLs certificates are stored. So that's the reason why I prefer using command line interface over Docker visual interface. Let us now go and check and configure Grafana inside the web interface. And here we will open web browser, we will type in our Synology IP address and change to port 3000. If everything is okay, we will see a login interface. Default username for Grafana is admin and default password for Grafana is also admin. We have to now change the password from default to a new password, so I will type in a new password. And that's it. First thing we have to do here is, as you can see, Grafana is installed and everything is okay. We have to add data source. We in last episode installed InfluxDB, so we will be using InfluxDB. For the IP address, for the URL, we will be using our Synology IP address. So it's 192.168.1.109. The port for the Influx database is 8086. For the database, we have to name the database, and last episode we created a database called Home Assistant. If everything is correct, we should now save, test and get all green. Okay, that's it. And our Grafana is installed and ready to start adding dashboards, graphs, etc. Unfortunately, since we still haven't configured much in the Home Assistant, we will not be getting much information in the graphs, or we will not having any data inside the InfluxDB. Let us check. I think we can create one graph for start. We will create a new query. We will select from default database measurement, we will be selecting sun, where entity ID is equal to sun. And as you can see, we are having dots. We don't want dots, we want everything to be connected. Okay, so it's looking much nicer now, but the graph is really showing us nothing. It's just saying that the value of the sun is 1 and has been that for at least 6 hours. We have here last 6 hours. What value sun inside Home Assistant is defining? It is defining if the sun is above or below horizon. So if it's 1, it's above. If it's 0, it's below. If we go and check, for example, last 7 days, we can see graph going up and down depending on if it's night or day. We can save it. We will name it sun. And that's it. This is our first graph. This is it for this episode. Thanks to the feedback of some of my friends and viewers, I will be doing only one Docker installation per episode, so the episodes don't get too long. I apologize for once again doing 2 Docker installations, but I wanted to show the difference between installing Docker via command line interface and installing Docker via Synology graphical user interface. From now on, I will be adding some more Dockers. On the to-do list, I'm having Zigbee to MQTT, adding also MQTT and ESP Home. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you already didn't subscribe, please subscribe. Hit the like button. If you have any kind of a comment, please leave a comment below. And I will be seeing you soon. I hope to have at least 3 or 4 new episodes related to the configuration of components in the next week. and I will be posting them every couple of days. I think the first episode will be definition of the Synology DSM user and component inside Home Assistant, so you can get at least some kind of Synology data inside the Grafana application. Thank you once again. I hope you liked this episode. Subscribe, press the like button, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.